I'd like to discuss the Behringer T1952 two-channel vacuum tube that I've recently purchased. One of the challenges that I found is there isn't a lot of information about this. There's pictures, there's a few websites. Again, they're all detailing the same stuff that Behringer shows. I went through a lot to figure out how to acquire one, what it actually did, and then when I got it, I had some problems with the tubes that I had to replace. So I'd just like to kind of take you on a bit of that story. Now, the signal chain for this is some kind of preamp that powers your microphone if you have a condenser. Regardless, your microphone goes into a preamp, then comes into your T1952. There's no phantom power on this at all. So all the power has to come from some device in front. And then from the T1952 or your compressor into your audio interface or your mixer. The basic design of it is kind of interesting. There's a lot of buttons and a lot of gadgets, and it took me probably an hour to sit down and actually come up with a sound and a flavor that worked for me. Now, I heard a lot about this coloring and toning with the warmth. The one thing you have to do is you have to drive this thing and overdrive it to start getting anything out of your warmth. Now, looking at some of the forums and the discussions in this, the tube amplification happens after the signal, so it's not like you're sending the signal in and it gets warmer. The signal warmth comes after the sound actually hits and is compressed. And I can't say that it's incredibly huge that you notice this. You don't see this dial going way over to the reds. From what I've read, you get it more on the high side than the low side. It's very subtle warmth. It's not like it's going to really open up. It really comes down to the quality of the microphone you have and a good preamp. A lot of the controls, and again I've just kind of exploded them up here, there's two controls. This is a stereo device, so you have one channel 1 and channel 2, and what you can do is you can flip this one here, channel 1 master, so that everything you do here is mirrored down into channel 2. It's kind of handy. There's my basic Behringer that I got off eBay. The basic construction is an open case. This you just pop 6, 7, 8 screws off and the top comes off. On the back, again, two channels. You have XLR or you have balanced input. Channel 1, channel 2, you have plus 4 dB a gain or minus 10 dB. I'm running it with plus 4 if you're going into your DAW or your mixer. And just a closer look at those points. Now, just before I go on, you can do sidechain on this, so there is sidechain controls. I'm just going to flip back here. You do have sidechain controls and monitoring. If you do sidechains, then that basically bypasses your inputs. It's fairly logical. Now, I've opened up the box here. Now, you'll notice that there's a lot of empty space. This is a standard chassis that they must put all kinds of different devices in. It really doesn't use up a lot of mechanics or air inside. There's no fans or anything. It's functionally air cooled. We'll talk about this section right here. See these? There's actually two lights. When you turn this on, you see this glow. It's not from the tubes. The tubes do not glow. There's not enough power to push those tubes to a point where they're going to heat up and glow. Where the heat comes from actually is these 24-volt bulbs, and we'll talk about it a bit later on that I've actually put LEDs in there. Again, this is just another picture from the other side. You can see a better image of the light bulbs. There's a full bulb here and there's no bulb there. When I got the unit, the bulb had popped, so I couldn't do much with it. The bulbs for replacements or model 1818s or BA9S 24-volt bayonet-style bulbs. Lots of these on eBay. And again, what they do is those lights, see how they're glowing here? Those lights are behind the tubes. That's what you actually see. You don't see glowing tubes. You see the light coming from these bulbs pushing through the tubes. So it's a bit of an illusion. I've gone to Google and I've looked up the 24-volt BA9S, and there's all kinds of them out there. Again, these are standard incandescent bulbs, but there's also these LEDs. Now, I went to eBay and I ordered the amber LED 24 volts. And you can get different colors. If you want to get funky, you can put a green, a red. It doesn't matter. It's strictly there for cosmetics. The tubes, they're 12AX7 ECC83 tubes, which are quite common in guitar amplifiers. And I went to Google and I've never used tubes before, so I went on there and I had to learn from scratch. basically in the business on the music side, Mullards, groove tubes. If you go to your local music store, they'll have a fairly good selection. What's the best? Mullard seems to be the highest rated and kind of the pricier ones. From what I understand, Mullard, the original manufacturing company, doesn't exist anymore, and these are kind of Mullard licenses. You can dig into them yourself. I've gone to groove tubes, and they cost me $22.50 a piece. They work fairly well. I do like the sound that I'm getting from them. Again, I've gone to Google again and just looking at the different styles of tubes. What's important though is that they're 12AX7 ECC 83s. These are standard tubes. You'll see that when you pop them out, and it's just a matter of being very careful, not touching them with your fingers, putting some kind of paper towel or rag as you gently pull them out. There's a socket in there, and you just pull it straight up. Now, just while we're here, I'm just going to go back. There's these things that sit on top which hold the tubes in. You can just, these are rubber little gaskety things. You can just prop them out. Be careful. You don't want to bend the tubes all the way, but basically you can prop these out and then gently pull up on the tubes. When you put them back in, what you want to do is seat this little rubber thing on the top of the tube and kind of squeeze them in together. Now what I actually did, you'll see these two little metal posts here, I actually bent them up with my fingers, and that worked, but you got to be careful you don't bend the metal so much that they're going to pop off. You'll see at the bottom of the pins a configuration like this with an opening that's wider than any of these other ones. Make sure that when you seat the tube in, that you seat it in the proper configuration in the seating post. Do your homework. I went to YouTube. I looked at replacing vacuum tubes, amplifier, and there's all kinds of stuff there. There's a really neat series here from Expert Village. This guy's an electrical engineer, and he takes you step by step. All kinds of neat information, a little beyond what you need for this project, but it's good to kind of get yourself familiar with how tubes work and all the little facets of keeping them alive. 3 rules of working with tubes: don't touch them with your skin. Second is don't touch them with your skin. Third is don't touch them with your skin. It's not that they're going to blow up, but what happens is if you get oil on there, the tubes are going to heat up differently, and in the case where you need a matched pair for an amplifier, it can cause problems, and it's going to reduce the lifespan of your tube. Here's the Behringer tube that I pulled out, and I replaced it with a groove tube. Now, you'll see that these are 12AX7 A's, B's, C's. That last character really doesn't mean much in context of what we're doing. See this little A right there? Generally, it's a code that's used by the manufacturer to define something like low noise, extra long lasting. In the case of the Gold series that I'm using, there's a code on there that indicates R for Russian, C for Chinese. The guys at my music store suggested that I stick with the Russian ones. They're a little better quality than the Chinese ones. Here's a close-up of that tube. Again, those rubber stops at the top, which just slide out. I just bent those pins up a bit and then worked the tubes straight out. There's nothing else holding them in. This ceramic base is fixed. The tubes slide out of that ceramic base. Again, thank you for watching. YouTube.com, that BFD guy. My specialty here is working with F-Expansion BFD2. So if there's any questions you have, visit the website, drop them off, and I'll try and do something custom for you. Thank you very much.